Hello.
Hello. Oh,
Boy, time to do the review.
oh, hey, did see you there. Welcome to our review of one of our first gaming handhelds in the studio. This is the Lenovo Legion Go, and we're about to give you our full, unadulterated review of this handheld. So, gaming handhelds are basically all the rage right now. We have one coming out from Lenovo, we have the Steam Deck, you have the Nintendo Switch, and you have other manufacturers also making their own. But Lenovo has a pretty interesting approach to it. So, let's just jump straight into it. Let's talk about the design. As you can see, it is a pretty big, chunky little thing. It's also not a gaming handheld per se. Now, I would call this more of a chunky tablet with gaming peripheral. That's simply because it is a little bit more focused on the experience and the software that comes with it. To be very honest, it feels like Lenovo actually built its hardware to fit the software experience that it's creating. Now, before we jump into that, you will notice that there are not many ports here. You have one USB port at the bottom, USB-C again on the top. Both are capable of charging, and you also have a micro SD card slot just in case you need a little bit more memory. It supports up to 2 terabytes of additional memory, and this is in addition to the 512 gigs that come on board of this device. The Lenovo Legion Go comes with 2 removable joysticks, which turns this into kind of a tablet. And to be very honest, it literally can function like a tablet. It even has a sensor right here, which looks like a webcam. And as you can see, it has no problem standing upright. In fact, when you reset or you set up your PC, its orientation goes upright first before going into landscape. That said, these controllers without the body, it actually feels a bit chunky in itself. They are large, comfortable for my hand, but when I loaned the unit to a friend, she said that it was a bit harder for her to actually use it because her hands are smaller. So build quality wise, without the screen attached, it feels light, it feels hollow, but I think that was a necessary evil given the thickness of this screen. And the good thing about the Lenovo Legion, it has what they call FPS mode, which is simple to set up and turns it into kind of a trigger. It literally feels like you're holding a BB gun of sort, but it works as a mouse. So Lenovo is thinking a little bit ahead of the game. The problem though with this is there needs to be a little bit more setup on your end, especially when you're playing games like Apex. But aside from that, you have a kickstand, which is made of metal. No. You have a kickstand on the back, which is quite sturdy. The hinge feels really good. Like it's super stable. But like I said in the beginning, this feels like it's built to be more than a handheld system. In fact, we actually hooked it up to the TV to do a little bit of investigation whether it could handle the workload. And to be very honest, I wouldn't mind traveling with this instead of a fully functional laptop, or if like I'm traveling overseas and I need plug-in on a holiday. This would definitely be more than enough. You just need a wireless keyboard, or if you're comfortable with the on-screen keyboard that Microsoft has, then go ahead and use it. When it comes to Legion Go's display, it comes with an 8.88 IPS display with Lenovo's own custom calibration. It covers 97% of the DCI-P3 gamut, and it also has really good HDR performance. When I was using it, seriously, I thought this was a full-on OLED display. But looking at Lenovo's notes itself, it said IPS. That's how good their calibration is. And even here, with a game like Hades, you can see how vibrant the colors are. It's really popping off the screen. This particular display has a 144Hz refresh rate, a QHD plus resolution, which is more than enough, I think, for a handheld gaming experience. I know a lot of people will be saying more pixels is better, but you also have to remember we are talking about powering an 8.8-inch display of this resolution with a really high-end processor and also a acceptable GPU, which means your power drain is going to be on the high side. So if you're going to be powering a 4K display, you're probably going to get a lot less battery life. Now, since we've got the display out of the way, let's go into performance. So when we tested this system, we actually tested it with a number of games. So the first thing that I personally tested it on was Palworld. Yes, we did take part in all that hype. Palworld on this system natively runs at very low setting. Of course, it did heat up a little bit, but overall the experience was not bad. Aside from situations where Wi-Fi was a bit spotty, there wasn't many issues I had playing Palworld on this. Yes, when I cranked it up to high, there was lost frames and frame rates weren't that good. I think even at the lowest setting, I got about 25 to 30 frame rates, which is playable, not necessarily the best visual quality you can have on a 144 Hz. But that's the thing, I don't expect a laptop or desktop experience on this. The other games we actually played was Hades, and Hades, the experience was so good. Yes, it is technically a platformer and it's also not a 3D game, but visually I think some laptops have a lot to catch up when it comes to playing games like Hades with a display like this. So we got pretty respectable performance, about 40 FPS on Hades, and probably the highest level of testing this was testing Starfield on it. While yes, you won't get the textures or the graphics quality of using a really high-end laptop or desktop, gameplay on Starfield on this in particular was pretty good. The controls are responsive, you have good visuals, and you don't really realize the aberrations that happen unless you're looking for it. And to be very honest, you're not looking for that when you're playing a game. You're looking for a stable gaming experience and one that can actually last for quite a while. And it delivers on that. Overall, you get around 2 hours of gameplay depending on what game you're going to be playing and on what settings you put it on. So when we crank things up to high on Palworld and even in Starfield, things got a little bit iffy with battery. Even plugging it in didn't really charge the device. This runs on the AMD Ryzen Z1. It has 16 gigs of RAM and it also has a RDNA 3 based graphics unit. That processor actually draws a lot of power, and even with Lenovo's Legion cooling system, it still does get a bit warm when you're playing it. And to be honest, I don't expect it to remain icy cool, given that the games that we were playing on it were very intensive. But Lenovo has proven that it knows what gamers want. However, I don't think that they were designing this to be handheld first. Like we mentioned before, when it comes to performance, it's amazing. But when you're having a handheld device, the one thing that you want it to be is light and also a little bit more portable. What I found myself doing is either leaning on a table while I was holding it or even using my belly as a surface to deal with a bit of the weight. Now, I understand that Lenovo had to design the body such so that it could cool properly, but maybe we need to figure out why it's heating up so much. And for me, I think that boils down to a software experience. While Lenovo's Legion Space did a really good job of highlighting your game, integrating things like the Epic Game Store, Xbox Game Pass, and even Steam. And if I'm pretty sure if you have GOG and the other services, it will integrate as well. The biggest problem that the Legion faces is Windows. Windows is not optimized for this form factor. And I think Lenovo does deserve commendation for what they have done. The Legion Space is really, really good. But Microsoft needs to understand that Windows is becoming more than just a desktop experience. We've faced this before with Windows 8 as well, being touchscreen first. The problem now is that Windows itself doesn't adapt to the way the users are using it. And that is a really, really sad situation for a device that is as powerful and as impressive as the Legion Go. Overall, the Legion Go is a really good device, but the only thing holding it back is actually its battery life. I won't hold Windows against Lenovo, but the battery life needs to be improved before it's a 100% device. So that's our review of the Lenovo Legion Go. Tell us what games you're going to be playing on this handheld gaming device. I'm Jeevan, and don't forget to follow us for more tech on techENT.